In the world of home services, success isn't just about hard work, it's about outworking the competition. Welcome to the OUTWORK'em Podcast, where founders Ryan Kearney and Thomas Eberts break down the cutting-edge strategies that are transforming the home industry. From HVAC to plumbing, roofing to contracting, and everything in between, we're bringing you the tactics and insights you need to dominate your market. Join us as we interview the industry leaders, sharing their secrets to success and their predictions for the future. Get ready to outwork, outsmart, and outgrow your competition. This is the Outwork'em Podcast.
Aloha, y'all. Ryan here, top Seer Marketers. Today on the show, we have Taps, Comfort One. So today we're going to go through, talk business, talk life. Hopefully we can share some tips, some insights, and then thought-provoking questions for everyone. And we'll be open to feedback, answering questions. Depending on where you're listening to this at, you can drop them in the comments, or our email addresses and websites will be listed in the link to the video, so in the description, so you'll be able to reach out to us. Taps, thanks for jumping on. Welcome to the show.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you having me here. This is first for me, so I'm excited to go through this with you and see what we have to discuss today. I'm really excited to give my little snippets of my career in HVAC and how it started and that type of stuff.
Cool. Well, usually if someone hopped on and the first thing they said was this is their first time, I might get a little nervous, but I've spent enough time with you talking story, and we always end up having a good chat. So Nothing to worry about there for our listeners or either of us. A little bit about how I met Taps. We met through mutual friends. I actually wish I could put my finger on the first time we shook each other's hand. I don't think I even can at the moment, but over time we got to know each other, going on hikes and spending some time out in the wild, doing some hobbies that we like. I'm sure we'll touch on that a little later. But first question here I got for the podcast to dive into is finding out a little bit about how you actually got started in HVAC. What were your prior interests and what led to you deciding that's the way you wanted to go?
Oh man, we can take it way back. Let me see. High school, we actually had a work program. As I think about this, I didn't really think about this before, but I actually interned while I was in high school for a HVAC and insulation company in Minnesota as a kid. And 15 years later, I think it was, no, not quite 15, I jumped into industry myself, not knowing that first step was something that would actually come through. But I just feel there's so much circles in life and how you touch back on things. So it was kind of neat. But yeah, that was my first touch on HVAC. And I remember getting called out. There was more heating. Getting called out in the winter, and we were either insulating attics if power was down, or else we were fixing furnaces. Remember, it was many late nights that my mom and dad were not happy because I was working late, but it was it was a learning experience and seeing the emergency side of that. So fast forward a few years, I moved to Arizona with my family and started in the roofing industry and did that for quite a few years. And then eventually got, I call it burnout. It's either one, am I going to stay in stay in roofing, or am I going to look at something else? And it never really challenged me. And I went to, I don't know if I went to a job fair or something. Somehow I ended up talking with someone in HVAC, or my dad introduced me like he tends to do. And I enrolled in school, and that's where it started. And ever since then, I've been doing it. So now, what are we on? 16 years now in the field, I think it is. Wow. Right around there. Mm-hmm. So started out working for a small family business and helped them grow. And the big thing with them, when I started from day one, I told them eventually I'm going to have my own business. My dad had owned his own business at one point in my life, and then my wife's parents have always been entrepreneurs and had their own businesses. So I had a driving force behind me, especially from my wife's dad. He was constantly like, you got to do your own thing. You got to do your own thing, Taps. So that was kind of my driving factor there. And it always intrigued me being able to almost control your own destiny per se.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. Control your own destiny. I'd say that's definitely one of the things I love about business and being in business with my family. Even when I was a kid as well, having that inspiration. So it sounded like you got started in it was like an internship or education program back in Minnesota.
Yeah.
A lot of emergency stuff.
Yeah, so we had a work program. So we go to one block scheduling. So you go to one class, and then the rest of the day, there's different businesses around the small town I lived in that would give opportunities to high schoolers to come experience like trades, or there was a manufacturing plant I worked for a while. So I kind of did a little of both. And one of those was HVAC company I worked for about a year.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome to hear the story you shared. It sounded like there were two men, your dad encouraging you, and you say he introduced you to someone, and then your wife's father as well, who's encouraging you to start your own business. It's always cool to have the elders helping us out. Being grateful for that. Whenever you said the challenge aspect of it, you could have went into other things other than roofing and trades. And after roofing, you could have got into some other things. But when he introduced you to someone, was that someone the person you ended up working for? That first conversation?
No, I worked for him for about 3 months, and that was kind of a weird experience. I lasted a month. I never got a paycheck, but I learned a lot. So, it kind of just ignited me.
Yeah.
But it also showed me that not everybody who's in business is I guess it gave me a platform like, hey, okay, I don't want to be this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I took it as an experience. Oh man, I got some learning. The technician I worked with was a really awesome guy. So that was a great learning experience. So I was like, oh, okay, well, so that first step intrigued me to get into the school. That's how it went. I went to work for them, didn't get paid. Then I was like, okay, I enjoy this. What is my next step? And that's when I found the school. And then I went back to work with a roofing company while I was going to tech school at night. Went night school for that.
Wow, great work. Thanks for the story there. Got some other questions for us here today. So now that we know how you got into it, kind of got started, worked for some other people. How about, what was that like transitioning from working for someone else in the industry and then starting your own business? How did that evolve, employee wise, team member wise? How did that all come together for you?
Started out, it's definitely a learning experience. There's always a lot of, there's a lot of unforeseens that you don't know about, and then you quickly learn, and then try to, what I figured out is, you mentioned something about elders, finding those people who are willing to share lessons they've had has been like super amazing for me. Like leaning on those sources, like, hey, what did you do in this situation? Hey, can you give me some insight? So that was like a big learner in the beginning. I mean, I had to experience when I started my own just to go out. I could do the work, but then there's a lot of background stuff you don't notice, like the billing and all that and the taxes and all that stuff. So that was a definite learning experience. Had some pretty big ruffles there, or mountains or roadblocks, whatever you want to call them, but pushed through those. Learning lesson. We got to, I always say you got to fail to succeed. So there were some definitely not failures, but definitely some big roadblocks we hit that we didn't realize. But that was good. And then I quickly learned, I guess a big lesson I'm still learning now. We just hitting our 7th year in business. Have 7 employees. Definitely are looking to hire more technicians as we grow. But there's a thing of where you get to a point where you can't wear as many hats as in a leadership role. You kind of get that point, and you actually become a little stagnant. And I think I hit a phase of that where I was not wanting to relieve some hats. So I was like, oh no, I can do this, I can do that, and then pretty soon you get so consumed, but you kind of go to snail's pace because you can't grow. And learning to delegate those positions out. Still slowly going through it, but I'm getting people in places that will help me move forward in those and actually help us grow and be a more efficient company and provide that value to our customers.
Nice. I feel like I'm hearing a little bit, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Maybe a couple months ago, you mentioned to me you're reading the book,
Buy Back Your Time.
Yeah. And then I love talking with people about books. And so I fired it up on Audible. I didn't read the actual paper copy, but I'm hearing a little bit of the buy back your time in there, learning how to release and kind of empower others to wear a hat for you and, put them in a position where they can succeed in it. And, I love that book because one of my takeaways was kind of if I put someone in a seat and, they put on the hat and get to work, at the end of the day, if they don't succeed, it's probably my fault. And I either chose the wrong person or I put them in the wrong seat or I didn't give them the proper systems. So I just want to say thank you for, the book's been shared with me a few times. And then whenever you shared it and you talked about the challenge of implementing it, that was the first time I had a conversation with someone about the actual implementation, and it moved me to actually check out the book. So thanks for the recommendation there.
Yeah, I'm still baby steps on it. I listened to it on Audible. I haven't actually fully completed the book, but it sparked that awareness in my head of like, okay, I got to do these things to get to that next level. And then also admitting like, oh yeah, I can't do all these things. And yes, there is people that can that will do it better than me, because we all have our little special traits that we really excel in. And so finding a team member that can take those things that you don't do as well and they excel in those, and they'll love that position, that once you find that right person. That's like an amazing insight I got out of it, is like, everybody has a special trait. Just find out where they fit as part of your team.
Yeah, find their superpower, put them in the spot to maximize it. The most insightful part of the book for me was whenever they recommended to do the time audit. So I printed out, I found a time tracker online, and every 15 minutes it's accounted for. And then just to see where I was putting my focus and how a lot more of my focus was probably getting putting out some fires rather than moving things along the way I wanted, whether that's for a client's project or something internally for our agency. And the time audit was mind blowing.
Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff.
Totally. Your business name, Comfort One, and Comfort One Air Conditioning. You're in Phoenix, Arizona, based out of Phoenix, Arizona. So most people there need is staying cool in the summer. Where it sounds like where you got started, it's flipped. When you were doing that emergency service up in Minnesota, it was more on the heating side. It's probably the emergency side of things.
Yeah.
How's the air conditioning business in Phoenix with probably drastic difference from summer to winter? How do you like that? How do you juggle that, manage that year to year, from keeping yourself engaged, your team busy or productive rather than just busy, all that good stuff?
There's definitely, I guess, kind of rewinding back when I started, the company I started with, it was, kind of boom all summer long and then bust. And it was kind of that side of it. And so, winter times are always slower here, not as much going on. And they were new when I was starting with them. And so I was kind of listening there, and I actually met a individual when I was up at a camp up on the north rim of Kaibab. There was another HVAC owner that was up there. I was talking, he'd been in business for years. And we kind of got to chatting about it, and he gave me this assessment of a pool of fish. And it's one thing I always reference back to, is he talked about like him and his buddy both started HVAC companies way back in the day. I don't know what they're 20, 30 years ago in Phoenix. And the one thing I got out of that lesson was building a customer base around like we call it a comfort club. Mm-hmm. So in turn, what it does is it helps us stay busy year round. So we're taking care of people's units in the spring and then in the fall, and we're able to check things up there, but it gives our guys more touches with our clients to make sure their homes are working the way they should. But it also, by that pool of fishes, you always have plenty, like you have enough, people around to create work. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big thing with the industry is you can boom or bust. But the problem there is if you have great technicians, if you don't have work from the wintertime, they're going to want to move away from you. Mm-hmm. But if you can keep them working and have a job year round, that was the biggest thing. So that was my biggest lesson for the first company I worked with. They didn't do much of that. So in talking with Chris, that was the individual I talked to, I learned that part of it. I was like, oh man, that makes so much sense. Mm-hmm. That, building that, we'll call it our comfort club base up. Mm-hmm. So we constantly have a big group of people that we're working with and seeing a couple times a year. And it's just, one of our big things is as a company is one of our core values, be elephant-like, it's like a family minded. Mm-hmm. So now they're like part of our tribe, our herd or whatever the elephant goes at. It's so big on our team. So we got people that call in, we want this, we want John coming back out. We want U-Haul come, we got our team members are like family to them now because we're at their house a couple times a year, making sure everything is the way it should be.
That's awesome. So the Comfort Club, and you mentioned be elephant-like. Is that a unique selling proposition, or how do you differentiate yourself from other people in the marketplace? I mean, not to say that there's one way you do it, but if you were to say the top, 2 or 3 responses you usually give whenever you're talking with someone and they're asking, what makes you different, or why should I go with you over, someone else? Mm-hmm. Where do you position yourself?
I would say that it's not really a unique selling proposition. That side is more of an internal as part of our team. We just like that's like our unique internal, like be elephant-like is like we're all family minded. We got each other's backs, and then the same thing for clients also. Like, got something come up, just give us a call. We're here for you. That's kind of our slogan. Like, we're going to take care of it. Mm-hmm. But that's my biggest, like, as far as a unique selling proposition is, we're coming to you. We want to sell you a solution that is based towards you, not like I call it like a catalog. We're not going to come there and be like, flip. Or here's your prices. Here you are. Like, I want to sit down with you. Let's learn about your lifestyle. Let's learn about your house, your home you're in. I mean, it's an important part of your day to day. Is like, let's create, if you say you need a new system, well, let's create a system that's going to really cool your home comfortably year round. Mm-hmm. Instead of just, a catalog. Oh, here's this one. You can have A, B, or C, and just put it in there. But it's not going to necessarily be the best one for your home. Versus we sit down and have a conversation about, hey, here's what's going to work best for what I'm hearing from you. Give me some insights. I think that's the biggest thing that I use as a unique thing is I just want to get to know you and your lifestyle inside of your home before we just throw a system on your new AC system or heater or something into your home to help you out. Even like an air quality thing, like maybe you don't need a new system, but you're having some issues with dust or like allergies in your home. There's solutions we can provide there to help your home more comfortable when you're there. Mm-hmm. So I think the unique selling side of that is just, you could use that, be elephant-like, because we're there as a family for you. Like, we want you to be comfortable. So that's how we're looking at it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And, you mentioned earlier, everyone having different strengths and being able to perform at a high level with different tasks. We've mm-hmm. chatted a good bit where I've heard you mention that you're working on, airflow problem solving for a client, or, designing ductwork and, some things that whenever I talk to some other people in the HVAC industry, they're not really spending as much time doing that. Or they'll say, yeah, we don't really do that at all. So it sounds like this is just me kind of reaching back in my mind for some of our conversations that you're providing, considerable amount of value based on your experience and the education you put yourself through in the industry to, be able to stand out, beyond just, hey, we're going to come fix something. Oh yeah, we're going to slap a new unit on your roof. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned wanting to challenge yourself. So I'm kind of just bringing all that together to say, like, do you recognize that about yourself and your business as well, that y'all actually do educate yourselves and kind of go above and beyond in some ways sometimes to do that? Not everyone's kind of capable of doing what y'all are doing, in my eyes.
No, we definitely put a lot of effort into and time into educating our guys ourselves. This industry is always evolving. And then it's just one thing, it comes from listening to customers. Like, I think listening is like a big key part of it. People are going to express what their problems are at their homes. And I get that. So as I hear those things, like the airflow thing, I get a lot of that. And I actually get referrals from other HVAC companies like, oh yeah, we don't touch that. Well, to me, that's an opportunity to better your home, better the comfort level of the home. So we constantly are, get into classes that help the guys realize and learn that side of it, so we can give that best product. I don't want to just, in ideal world, yeah, you just want to buy a new car every 2 years, but why not? If you buy a new car, let's make that thing last by changing some of the stuff in your home that can actually make that system run a lot better and more efficient for a longer period of time.
Makes sense. That's awesome. And then kind of going back a little bit, we talked about how you got started, touched a little bit there on your education, how you progressed to be able to provide a lot more value than some people. But what about the business side of it? When you first, started your own business, how did you go about getting leads, getting jobs? How did you market yourself and really get off the ground?
I'm trying to think on marketing. So I was in the industry for about 6 years, 7 years, no, even longer. I don't know. My numbers are probably off if someone's going to, I say it's been 16 years. I'm trying to figure it out exactly. I don't know the exact timeline, but I was in it for, I would say about 8 years before I started the business or so, give or take. So I built up a level of that side. I have a lot of family and, I say acquaintances across the valley that own like roofing or construction companies, and leaned on them for some help, and they've been awesome resources. So it gives me a nice background of like, when I come across other problems, I got other service industry people that I trust that I can refer out. So that was a big help in the beginning. In starting out the business, so in the first handful of years, we didn't market at all. I think we had a web page. I think we had. I'm trying to remember. I think we had one built. I just don't recall. I think we were kind of at the beginning. I'm guessing it was obviously necessary, but I was so busy as me and one guy running that we didn't have the time to look at doing that side. So yeah, it was all word of mouth. I did join like a B&I group. It was a different group in the Valley that I joined, and that gave, I was leveraging that, giving referrals out, getting referrals back in. That was big. I'm in a B&I full time right now. That's been amazing. And then my wife does a different group. Well, she did do a different group, but she's out of it now. But we kind of use those, what do you call them? Like the business to business referral groups have been really good. You get a good core base of different industries that you can use for leads. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning stages of how we started out on that.
So you got started off, friends, family, referrals, other trades. You help them, they help you get the word out about yourself, and then moved on to some networking groups, which is like a little bit more formal, a little bit more strategic and systematized. And then you said initially you don't remember. Maybe you had a website, maybe you didn't. What was it like or when did you first start putting an emphasis on, getting reviews on your Google profile, having your Google business profile rank, and, when did you start keeping an eye on all that kind of stuff?
Probably about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because, before that I was, and I think, it sounds foolish, but before then I was working so much in the field. I just thought that we don't need that. I'm busy, I'm working. So it wasn't like, that was my mindset. I was more as a technician then, not looking as from like a big picture from the other side. So yeah, about 3 years ago, there was an individual in one of my groups that helped us build a web page. So we had that. We had went through a couple of different software companies where they kind of just do I call it a copy and paste web page for you, throw it up, help you out. So we had that for a while, a couple of different big box marketers. And I still remember the hike. I was telling you, I was grumbling about it. Like, hey, I don't know what's going on. This is craziness, but I feel like I've just been declining. And then when I actually did start paying attention, it's kind of becomes an obsession. I'm like, oh, why are we declining? I remember we had a conversation, and then you guys opened up like, oh, wow. Yeah, we got to sit down and actually have a real serious conversation, because there's a can of worms that needs to be closed back up. You're not really in your marketplace. It was the biggest thing that was interesting to me. Like they had us based out of Texas, I think it was, or something. Mind blowing to me. I was like, oh, so this whole time I'm not even in the area I was supposed to be in. There was like some backlinks or something that had us there. I remember that, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I see a smirk on your face. I chuckled a bit. I'm glad we could laugh about it now. But yeah. Just a little context for the listeners, I guess. Yeah, Taps and I, we were going out hiking at sunrise. We were probably trying to do about once a week. We probably missed regularly a week or month here and there, but we were going hiking about once a week and just talking story. Sometimes it'd be more about life, sometimes more about business. And something just wasn't adding up. And whenever he said, he said something, I was like, well, we can take a look, and if you want, set up an email for us with your company's domain, because otherwise it might take us an eternity to get some real answers. If I send them a message from my marketing agency's email, they might not even really reply. And then that's when we kind of uncovered that it was just a big company, probably no one trying to do you any harm, but just someone had your account that wasn't dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, and they had you ranking in Texas instead of Arizona. And I mean, the fact that you were still growing your business and doing everything you were accomplishing in spite of that just speaks to your work ethic, and you outworking them out there in the field, and having your work speak for itself, and people wanting you because of that. It was definitely a lot of fun to get involved, start working together, and making progress on just growing your digital footprint, your online real estate per se. And then just it's been super fun getting to know some of your techs, the personality of your business, and put together some newsletters for y'all. So just want to say thanks for being so transparent and forthcoming whenever we were just chatting about life and business, and then it turned into something where you could work out a win-win to help each other. Yeah,
that was awesome. It's a big eye opener for me, but also a big fresh air. Is like, this is how it's supposed to work. This is nice. So that was really fun too. I mean, granted like you said, no harm, no foul on their part. It's just they probably have a lot of clients. It is what it is. But for me, it really opened my eyes to like what marketing can do for you and how it should work. That was the biggest thing.
Nice. Yeah, no harm, no foul, but kind of bringing it back to HVAC. It's kind of like, imagine you put a unit on someone's roof and they turn on the heating and it starts blowing cool air, or they turn on the heat and it starts blowing cool. That's essentially kind of what was happening to you. They're trying to rank you in a state you're not serving, you're not doing business in. And so definitely not ideal. And that'd be a huge oversight, kind of the comparison I gave you there.
Yeah. So no, I agree there. No, for me, it's just easy to look back on, laugh. It doesn't pay to lose sleep over it. So it is what it is. Learning things. So glad we were able to connect on that side and get stuff moving in the right direction.
The one thing that you mentioned, I was hoping to hear a little bit about whenever I asked what got you started. You kind of said when. It was about 3 years ago. But was there a conversation? Was there someone you connected with that kind of, or circumstance that occurred? Like sometimes it's, cash is piling up, which is a good thing, and it's like, okay, how do I reinvest in the business? What's the best place to put this? Or sometimes I'll have someone come in and they'll say, oh, well, I talked to a mentor of mine and they said I'm at a stage in my business where I need to get more serious about my online presence, dial in my lead form, setting appointments online, set up a comfort club. Is there anything you can point to that actually made you take the leap to taking your online presence more serious there?
I actually did like 2019, 2020, so that'd be about 4 years ago now. Well, just before they shut down everything, kind of made things hard for us to travel. I did a conference that one of my wholesalers put on in San Diego, and there was a few speakers in there talked about it. Mm-hmm. And that kind of triggered me, like thinking as I was more getting out of the field and kind of looking at, okay, from a different perspective, mm-hmm. how can I grow? How can I make the team I got now busier, and how can I bring in more clients? And that was a big thing that kind of triggered me at that point. And I was like, I have nothing here. So that was kind of like the first step of like really diving into the ranking. And then, you kind of go through ebbs and flows and are like, okay, we're not as busy now. Like how can we keep this continually going up? Mm-hmm. And so that was like the next step. I mean, you can grow so far with word of mouth referrals, mm-hmm. with the team, but as your team grows, you have to find other ways to bring in work. You can't just always rely on that word of mouth mm-hmm. basis. So, there's many facets you got to start allocating to bring work in.
Yeah, that makes sense. So so now here we are. What would you say, and this could be a little more broad. I don't want to narrow how you decide to answer, but life, business, in the business, things related to customers or, networking, or maybe something related to, summer's coming to an end here. So you might have some more free time. What are you most excited about? Work, life?
Well, work, obviously there's always some, now for me, like I look more at big wins as like, seeing guys like progress in the field, like technicians, like really start to get things. There's always little light bulbs that goes off for techs, and mm-hmm. seeing that side. I remember when I was in that and doing it, like when I'd figure something out, I'm like, oh yeah, so now it's fun to be able to see the guys come through and really learn and I guess have those light bulbs go off for themselves. Like, oh yeah, I solved this one, instead of getting those calls like, hey, can you help me with this? Or can you do this? Like them clicking that. So that's a really good one. Or, another one is also recognition online, getting good reviews from people. I mean, that's huge in the community. You're getting reviews from your clients and mentioning guys by name, and just really, really appreciate that side of it. I mean, that's a big win when you get those coming in. That's huge. Mm-hmm. And then personal side, I mean, my wife just had a complete shoulder replacement, so that's super exciting for me to see her, go through that and grow, and then allowing us to open up some more avenues for stuff for us to do as, together. So that's a huge win on our side. It's been something that's been for a while. So I'm excited for her to go through the PT and get that going. So from a personal side, that's a big thing. I have a lot of hobbies I take this fall. So be spending some time with some friends, getting out and doing a little elk hunting and stuff like that. I really enjoy that side, being out in nature, just, get a little free time I call it a de-stress time. Mm-hmm. And spend a couple days up in the mountains is always a good time.
Totally. And time with Taps up in the mountains or out in the wild is a blast. I could say I'm blessed to have got out there with them and learn the ropes a bit and have some great experiences. So I just want to give you a shout out. And not only are you epic in the field at work, but you're a lot of fun out there in the wild hunting and really helpful just overall. So just wanted to give you a shout out.
Appreciate that.
No doubt. And then how about, you mentioned wins for, your techs, light bulbs going off. Love seeing the smile you got on your face when you expressed your wife having the shoulder replacement, and you were already seeing kind of the look in your eyes gave me this impression you already see y'all doing some stuff together that you've been putting off until she kind of got healed up there. So I'm excited for that for y'all and to get to connect with y'all on some of that. But as far as things so there's life for you at home. You mentioned a little bit things you're excited about. You talked about things you're excited with your team, and then just to provide some value to our listeners here. Someone was to want to start a career in HVAC. Someone becoming a tech. Kind of, since we're coming up on time here, maybe combine two questions. What advice do you have for someone wanting to start a career in HVAC? And then also, what types of people do you like to work with? Having, a team and getting to work with different people, probably have some insight there on how people can succeed and kind of differentiate themselves.
Yeah. So getting into the HVAC industry, I think anybody who's the big thing is like mechanically inclined. You like to fix stuff. I mean, that's a big helper. Another thing is, and I don't think a lot of people think about, is that there's a part of it. I'm trying to think the best way to put it is like, helping someone in a time of need. I mean, there's so much gratitude you can get from that side of going to someone's house, seeing them in distress in the summertime, and knowing that you can get them back up and running, cooling, back comfortable, their families happy. So there's a side of that too, of like giving back, even though you're doing the work and charging, but it's kind of a nice feeling to be able to help someone. So it's kind of almost a caregiver in a way. If you think about it in that perspective, that's what I've always really enjoyed about it. As far as like people like to work with, obviously like-minded folks, open mindset, positive. I mean, that's a big thing. Want to give back, help people. Those are big things. And then, I always say to get into like the HVAC tech side is being able to, I always say like the best are like the little tinkers when you're a kid. You're taking apart your bike, you're doing this, you're always doing little things with your hands. I think that's a very helpful trait in this field. Mm-hmm. You can train that side too, but it always helps if you're a little more mechanically inclined. Mm-hmm. To fix something, because there's always a progression of steps to get to a solution. So being able to troubleshoot it and walk through it is huge. Mm-hmm. I say anybody looking to get into it, I highly encourage it. It's a great industry. It's constantly evolving. We're always moving forward with technology. Since I even started, like the components have changed so much, like it's almost becoming more tech savvy, learning a lot more stuff is controlled through your phone. You can actually do a lot of diagnosis through your phone. So there's a lot of things that, even when I started, it was like, oh no, we don't want that. You kind of have that old school mentality, but you can see the goods of it as you move forward. So having some of that tech savvy stuff can really help out someone coming into the industry.
Nice. Thanks for the insight there. And then this will be the last question for us today. What about for someone who's either recently started an HVAC business, or maybe they've been in business a while, they're just in a plateau with, the sponsor of the podcast, the marketing side of things here. What things marketing related would you encourage people to maybe take more seriously, or if they're starting a new business, make sure they don't put off till later? Is there anything, and the answer could be, not to do it too soon, so I don't want to twist your arm to encourage people to do anything that you really wouldn't advise. But if there are things marketing related that, looking back, you might have wished you'd done sooner, what are those things?
Yeah, I guess, everybody's at different steps in there. Even if you begin, everybody has a different goal in mind. And so I guess there's always people that say, you got to put 10% of your gross revenue per year into marketing if you're in a growth mindset. So I think that'd be huge. I went stagnant for a while. I wasn't putting anything into it. So at that point, I probably wish I would have put more into it and design the part of it. But I'd say like the most helpful, big thing for me has not been like the SEO side, but just connecting with our existing clients on like the newsletter we do or something like that, and connecting to them to help them get to know you better, but then throttles them to refer you to your friends. Because a lot of times, you get in a circle, like you said earlier, who do you like to work with? Well, a lot of your clients are the people that fit with you, like energy wise. Yeah. So sending that out and getting their friends and family to work with you is awesome, because they're introducing the same type of people. So I think marketing wise, I've always liked the whole thing of being more family-like, because that's what we are, as a small family business, but marketing that side, but then also throttling your dollars in depending on where you want to go. Mm-hmm. You can put a lot of money into it, but do you have the staff to keep up? Because it's going to work. Yeah. But do you have the staff? Or, but if you don't, then you kind of, it's kind of like a gas pedal. You kind of push it down when you need it, and then when you don't. But one thing I wish I would have done probably sooner was just been more consistent with it. Okay. And it's a learning game, but just being constantly, constantly updating, like even if it's just a newsletter when you first start out, it's just an introduction that you're constantly front of mind to someone. Because the more touches you have with someone, the more immediately they're going to remember you when they do have a problem. Mm-hmm. So I'd say that's my big marketing side that I like for me, because we get a lot of comments from clients or even from referrals from clients like, oh yeah, our friend told us about a newsletter, or I'll even, we'll knock on the door and be like, oh, from the newsletter, I'll have people tell me something. I was like, did we put that in there? And I'm like, how did they know that about me? So there's that sides where, we're like, oh yeah, that's right. I approved that, so there's a thing where you get forgetful, but people love being connected with you because you're part of their lives then. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a huge part of that on the marketing side that maybe gets overlooked that I really like, but that's us as a core, as a company and a team. That's what we're looking to bring. That's part of our value proposition to people, is that you're part of us. It's our family.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. The newsletter, whenever we started talking about how we could help out in that way, increase the number of referrals you're getting through that, and then also client retention. Sending out the newsletter, maybe someone who, is coming up against an issue, even if they were 80% going to go with you on, the repair or getting a checkup, that newsletter going out, maybe they weren't in the comfort club yet. And, if they read the newsletter, they can opt into your comfort club, and, it's easier to share your business with someone with that. I didn't anticipate that being where we went, but I do remember how excited we were to kind of weave in the newsletter with the comfort club and kind of growing that, sending out a couple a month. So I'm glad that's landed well.
Yeah. No, it's huge. Obviously, if I were to say number one thing, like the number one thing for me, that's what resonates right now. I love that side of it, but mm-hmm. I would say number one thing is Google profile, getting your reviews. Obviously that's a huge thing. Mm-hmm. That's monstrous. Now we put some effort into it, we've definitely seen it grow. Mm-hmm. But it's a part of every day. You have to be relevant on there. It gives people a quick, easy way to look you up and understand who you are. And so that's been huge for us.
Awesome. Well, I was asking all the questions here and guiding it. I want to open it up to you. Any parting words, or, you can ask me a question. Really just want to hand it off to you to kind of, pass the baton for a moment before I wrap us up.
Yeah. Can't think of any questions on one side. I guess biggest thing, thank you for having me on and walking through this. It's kind of fun for me, just almost like a flashback going back. It kind of brings me back some memories on some stuff. So that was kind of cool to be able to share some of that. And definitely could help someone if they're in the, like, oh, do I want to do this? I want to, anything maybe helpful towards someone that maybe they take something away from this. But it's huge. And then thank you for what you've done on our marketing side. It's been amazing to watch that side grow. And I see it going bigger and bigger, and you're helping us with as we grow as a team. Like I said, now we got a full-time salesman coming on for our first time. So that's going to be huge, seeing how you guys can help us throttle that up and keep him busy. And I'm excited for that side. Biggest thing is thank you. That's all I got.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for being on the show. I know you got some plans after this, and I want to let you get to that. Respect your time, but busy man, Taps. Thanks for making time for us. And this felt really awesome. So aloha.
Okay. Peace.